next session will be presented by Moses Kipchirchir, who is a partner at KPMG Advisory Services. He's not a stranger in the MojaLoop community. In fact, him and the team worked on the quality assurance framework. I will encourage all of you to have a look at that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to him. But today he'll be talking to us about a step further, which is the automating the quality assurance framework. If you have any questions, feel free to put them on the chat, and we can handle that after his session. Welcome, Moses.
Thank you, Clune, and a pleasure to meet all the community members today. I'll just put up my slides, then we can do. Clune, confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, it's up.
Good. Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to present the work that we've done and the progress that we've made in the quality assurance framework workstream. Today's presentation will cover an additional step that we are taking, having completed the framework, to automate that framework so that it's easy to use and we can use it consistently. As introduced earlier, my name is Moses Kipchirchir. I'm a partner at KPMG within the Technology Consulting Division, and we have been working with MojaLoop on this quality assurance framework over the last 2 years. First, to recap the importance of the quality assurance framework, this is really a framework that enables us to assure the quality of MojaLoop deployments. And it is important to several stakeholders. Number one, to adopters who need to be sure that the deployment has been done correctly. It's also important to digital financial services providers, as it provides greater trust and integration quality. It's also important to the end users. These are the people who actually make payments, because it then, through quality deployments, we are able to have reliable and resilient payment flows. As we work in the financial services industry, this is a heavily regulated industry. This quality assurance framework and the tools that we've developed can be used as a basis to provide regulators with evidence that deployments have been done and they have been done correctly, and regulators can get reliable oversight evidence. So this is a very important part of MojaLoop payments. What is contained in the QA framework? We have already delivered the framework, which is largely in documents, and it was delivered in 3 documents, and this is available to all the community members and those who want to use it. We have a framework overview which defines the purpose, the scope, and applicability of the 6 QA pillars. And those QA pillars include configuration. I'll get into that shortly. It includes security, functionality, performance, interoperability, and overlay services. I'll get into the details of that in the next slide. So that document sort of gives a high-level overview of what the framework is about and what we intend to achieve and what the general purposes of the framework is. The second document is a controls catalog, and this really goes into the detail of what are you testing when you are doing a quality assurance. So it will define the control areas. It will describe what you ought to have deployed, the control description. It will define the objectives, what you intend to achieve, but it will also give you the procedures as a person who needs to test whether the deployment has been done correctly. It will provide the procedures that you ought to execute to test that deployment. And finally, it will show you the kind of evidence that you need to collect in order to do that test. So that is a controlled catalog. It's in a spreadsheet format, and that is also available to the community. If you intend to do a very quick self-assessment, there is a checklist that we have developed. It is basically on a yes or no basis and the kind of evidence that you ought to obtain. We've also developed a self-assessment checklist that can be used by adopters to do their own self-assessment. So that is the progress that we have made and made presentations in MojaLoop community meetings previously. Just to recap, there are 6 pillars of the quality assurance framework. And if I can just go through each one of them, for which we've developed the documents I've just described, and for which we will be focusing on as well when we move into the automation. The first one is the configuration pillar, and this configuration pillar ensures that MojaLoop services are deployed correctly and they can communicate with each other. So the components that we look at here with regards to setup and deployment is environment variables, database configurations, Kafka configurations, runtime service configurations, essentially the configurations that ought to be done. So we've defined how this configuration should be done, and in assessing this pillar, we are comparing that against your deployments. The second element that we are looking at is security. And primarily, what we want to focus here is to ensure that only authorized participants and users can access the platform resources, but also that we've done the right security configurations around the solutions. So we look at identity and access management at the organization level. Who gets access to what, right? We look at role-based access controls, the authorization matrices, and so on and so forth. Security and certificate management, secrets management as well. Secure communication, TLS, and we're looking at other security protocols as well. And we also recommend for every deployment, you should do a vulnerability assessment, penetration testing, just to ensure that the environment in which MojaLoop has been deployed is safe and secure across all layers. The fourth area that the third area that we look at is the functionality. And the focus here is to validate that the core MojaLoop transaction flows are working correctly. So our focus is in quote requests, transfers, settlements, error handling, transaction reversals, whether that is done completely and the system is behaving as it should, and any other use cases that we have defined in MojaLoop, that those transaction flows appear correctly and there are no errors. So that is the third area. The fourth area is on performance. And on performance, we look at how the platform behaves under realistic transaction volumes. So some of the key measurements that we look at is transactions per second, right? Does it meet the benchmark that we have? Response times, availability, scalability, and also resilience during failures or peak loads. The fifth area that we look at is interoperability. I think it's fair to say interoperability is at the heart of MojaLoop value proposition, given that there is going to be interactions or integrations to digital service providers, banks, mobile service providers, and all other kinds of third parties. So we'll be looking at API conformance as an area of focus, messaging compliance with ISO 20022, pro-scheme integrations, and the readiness for participants onboarding. The participant onboarding readiness is an area as well that the quality assurance framework has covered. Finally, we recognize that as a community, we're going to have innovations that we build on top of MojaLoop. The key concern for us is to ensure that those innovations, they are done safely and they do not introduce risks to MojaLoop. So we've also developed tools in this framework on some of the checks that we have to do to ensure that any overlay services we build on MojaLoop have the right security and is done safely and securely. So those are the 6 pillars in the framework, which we have already delivered, that is mostly in Word documents, Excel documents, Word document and Excel documents, and is available to the community. Then we realized that having done that is, yes, the framework is available. We have the controls catalog. You can do the self-assessment, but it's still a very manual process. There is always a risk that different adopters can interpret a different control differently. There is challenges around acquisition of evidence, and which some of the conclusions might be based on judgments. We also are currently not using parsers or integrating this into our continuous integration and continuous development pipelines. This is why the MojaLoop quality assurance workstream, we are currently working on then automating the quality assurance framework, moving from checklists into executable knowledge. So what is the changes that we are going to see? So currently, we have a catalog which has checklists, control descriptions. The work that we're doing, and I'll show you shortly where we are with this work stream. The work that we have done is to convert those controls, those test procedures into JSON format. We are building some parsers. So what the parsers are going to do is to ingest the JSON converted framework and the evidence or artifacts that we collect from MojaLoop. And out of that, we will get an output when we do run these. Once we have completed, you should get an output or a pass or fail based on the procedures that we are running, right? So that is the first stage. That is where we are right now. But the goal really is to ensure that we have automated this process and ensuring that adopters are able to run this and get consistent outputs with exceptions, and then can be used for remediations. That is the first stage. Later on, as part of maturing these work streams, perhaps we can use AI assistance in the process for quality assurance. So what you see in front of you is, for example, what we have in our controls catalog. So on your left side is what we would have in our Excel. When that is really converted to JSON formats, it goes into JSON formats. That will be fed into our parsers together with the artifacts that we collect from the system, and the outputs then would be results from a quality assurance assessment process. So we are doing this conversion in a pilot format. We will pilot the configuration pillar to begin with before we move on to the rest of the pillars. An example here, and this is work that is currently ongoing, is for the configuration pillar. Some of the artifacts that we'll be collecting for the purposes of quality assurance include environment variables, runtime configurations, as database for database readiness. We check check connectivities, schema migration, storage, and so on and so forth. So we have gotten started with the configuration pillar. That work is ongoing. And in fact, if we look at the roadmap for completing that configuration pillar, you can see that we intend to have that ready for use and for testing by the community by September of 2026. We did start this journey in April of 2026 with a kickoff where we agreed on templates and formats, and we also agreed on the pillar that we are starting with. In the month of June, and we did JSON schema definitions where we define the schema structure, translated configuration pillar into that defined schema. Currently, we are building a parser which is capable of ingesting those JSON schema, QA pillar, and extracting some of its content. In August, we'll be doing testing, and this is where we will have the opportunity to confirm that we can really do automated QA, see some of the outputs out of the solution that would have built. Then in 2026, we should be able to roll out the solution, and the community can begin using it as we move on to the rest of the pillars. So as I've said, configuration pillar is a pilot pillar. So that is underway with delivery expected in September of 2026. We should be able to move on to the rest of the pillars: security, functionality, performance, interoperability, and overlay services, to the extent that is possible in the subsequent months and in the coming weeks. So having done that, what does this mean for adopters? What means for adopters is currently we use document-based QA, which is still useful for the community and for the adopters to assure their deployments. There is a lot of manual self-assessment, and that comes with the issues that we'll see with any manual systems. Evidence reference is maintained by each team, and there is limited comparability across deployments. Having successfully completed this automation, we will successfully move from manual-based evaluation to machine-readable assurance workflow, and that will ensure quite a bit of consistency in the way that we do our quality assurance, and also speed in terms of execution of those of the assurance of those deployments. So that is my presentation today. I welcome any comments or questions. Hand over back to Plum.
Thank you, Moses. Just quickly looking at the chat, we don't have any questions for now, I think. But like I said earlier, feel free to post any questions that you have on quality assurance. That was a fantastic session. Moses reminding us of the importance of quality assurance in this ecosystem, which really cannot be overstated. It is it's central to everything that we're doing here, because without checking the quality of of the work that we're doing, then everything breaks, right? So if you're an adopter that has been listening in, and if you're in the QA team, if you're in the governance team, I think you have found this session especially useful. I see there's a question from Paul. Paul, if you could unmute and just yes.
Not really a question, just thank you, Moses, for driving this program forward. It's an extremely important program for our community, and I'm very grateful to you and to KPMG for supporting this. My hope is that as the automation proceeds, we can actually include it into the tail end of a deployment process, so that it automatically runs without actually needing a separate activity. That's the ultimate vision, I think, but this is a really important step on that path. So thank you, Moses.
Thank you, Paul, and also thank you for your guidance as always, with this process and your ideas, and bringing in the community as well, which has really enriched the work that we have done.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. The wider community have started to contribute to this work stream at the moment, in effectively carrying out a QA assessment of the QA assessment. So I think that's a vital process as well. And thanks to Bill Hodgehead for stepping up to do that important role. So,
right, thank you.
We have another question. Olu, please unmute and ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Moses. I think I just want to latch on what Paul just mentioned. So I'm taking lead of similar project, but a more expanded project within the foundation. And I think what you've actually shared today also will really be important to be factored into what you've actually shared. So I'll be happy to engage you further on a separate note. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to engaging.
Yolo for that. There's a question from Isaacs. Have you thought about how you will incorporate MCP agents up ahead? MCP being model context protocol architecture to work with the QA stack KPIs.
Yes, the roadmap to maturing this is first we are going to automate these. We are doing very basic parsers to begin with. The roadmap is to see how we can use AI further down the line. So definitely, as part I'd say we're taking baby step. We started with very manual processes. We do basic automation. Further down the line, these are some of the innovations and ideas that we'll take into consideration to mature this work stream.
Yeah, so the roadmap looks very exciting. Looks like a lot of work needs to be put. You need all hands on deck. We have a very huge community, and I will encourage everyone who's interested in this body of work to join your work stream.
Absolutely.
And we wish you all the best in September. Hopefully, in the next convening, we hope to hear about the automation, how far you have gotten. Yes, not to say that we cannot use the current version of the QA framework and the assessments, the checklists are there. So please go ahead, make use of those. Give us feedback, because that's how we make it better. Thank you, Moses.